Today I was going to talk about the day of the Lord. For all this week, it's been kind of a busy week for us. We've been on the road, so that's why I haven't made any videos in like a little over a week. But, I take myself on the road, I read, I got all this stuff, because we do a lot of events. My husband and I are self-employed, so when we go do an event, we're like, I don't know, we're on the road like 2.5 hours one way to an event. Some of them are morning, some of them are morning and afternoon, and then we have a 2.5 hour drive back. Well, this week, every single day this week, last week was booked all week. This week, every single day this week, we've been on the road to those long all-day events where we're far from home. In fact, we even had a day where we hit an accident. Not us, but there was an accident on the highway just minutes ahead of us, and we had to go like another hour out of our way to find another freeway in an area we're not familiar with in order to finally get home that night. So it's like, we get up before the crack of dawn, we're on the road, and then we're coming back and it's already going to be evening. It's just, those are just some long days. So a lot of times I'll just grab my Bible, I'll grab my stuff that I'm going to do, and that's where I'll read, is like if I have a lunch break or something. Anyway, so that's the point. That's what I do. And so I've been thinking, like every night, after I get home and looking at this, really wanting to get into the book of Revelation and really wanting to get there. Well, I really felt like this week, every time I go to look at just reading the first book of Revelation and looking at it, it mentions in the Lord's day, because this is where John was in the Lord's day. And so the interesting thing is, the Bible has a lot of things about the day of the Lord, which is something that not a lot of people know anything about. They don't know. I had a pastor teach an end times thing one time. It was laughable. It was he was proud of himself, but he did the whole Schofield timeline, but it was like 8 weeks he spent on this thing, saying a whole lot of nothing. And every time somebody had a question, he didn't have an answer. Somebody asked who Abaddon was. He didn't know. Somebody asked him what the day of the Lord was. He didn't know. I'm thinking, you're a pastor with a doctorate. You should be knowing these things, shouldn't you? And I think, what was the other thing? He said that the mark of the beast was repentable, just like that John MacArthur video that I showed you before, the short clip, that it's repentable. No, it is not repentable. And yes, we are going to go through end times, and we are going to go through the book of Revelation. Now, I'm not saying I know everything. I know some things, but I don't know everything. But we're going to go through it and read it for what's there. And I really have been wanting to get there. So I've been wanting to get past Abraham and Sarah. I've been wanting to get on to Isaac and Jacob and Esau, and just to at least get there before we head off over to the book of Revelation. But I thought it was interesting. I kept thinking, day of the Lord, day of the Lord, day of the Lord. I really need to talk about the day of the Lord. And, I don't know if the Lord's putting on my heart or what, but I kept thinking, day of the Lord, because it's coming. We're right there. And most people don't even understand what that is. Some people are calling the tribulation the day of the Lord. I think even on the Schofield timeline, tribulation is the war on the saints from the Antichrist war on the saints, but it's also Lucifer, or Satan's wrath on humanity. Well, we'll get into all that, and we'll see what the Bible has to say about it, and not what somebody else, 33rd degree Masons time charts have to say about all that. But I said all that to say this. So anyway, I was thinking, day of the Lord, day of the Lord, day of the Lord, and it was just very interesting, because when you go through your Bible, there are a lot of verses about making reference to Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, a lot of them about Sodom and Gomorrah. What's interesting about that is that's the very next chapter that we're going into today, and this video will be based on Genesis 19. Okay, now before we get into that chapter, I just want to lay some groundwork. I want to show you how today's time is coming up to all of this. Okay, you know, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a spirit in the world today, and it is an ugly spirit with people. Okay, it's almost like you can see the dividing of the wheat and the tares. Okay, it's like you can see this division going on. You know, you can see evil people just getting more evil. You know, then you have people that are waking up, godly people that are waking up, that understand that they're waking up out of the spell. Which reminds me, I'll be doing another video here also right behind all of these. I'm doing Wizard of Oz. I'm going to show you the political side to Wizard of Oz. But anyway, people are waking up to what's going on in this world. And, you know, and like I did, like you did, like so many other people have. But then you have the people that don't want to wake up. It's like you try to tell them, look at the signs, look what's going on around you. And it's, they got their blinders on. They don't want to know. They feel like if they don't know, then it can't happen. It's like an ostrich with his head in the sand, you know. But their inability to comprehend what is going on, or their inability or their lack of desire to know what's going on around them, doesn't change a thing. It's the world still goes on. This is still Satan's domain. And there are a lot of things that are happening that are very unusual in today's world. But this is a very spirit world, a very spiritual world. You know, it can only be one or the other. You either carry God's spirit or you carry another spirit. I don't want to carry another spirit, and I hope you don't either. Remember, I had talked previously about God consciousness. You have the New Agers, you know, and you got these people that want to get on this God consciousness. It's not Christianity. It is not the Lord God. This is a Kundalini spirit that they are trying to tap into. Okay? And it's Luciferianism, and it all leads to the same place. And when this paradigm shift takes over and people's minds go one way or the other, you know, like Jonathan Kleck talks about, you got the twins. You got one right side up, one upside down. You need them reconciled. If you are not reconciled back to the Father, you are going to find yourself on the other side of things when this shift occurs. Okay? The Bible speaks about it if you go through it. But there is a spirit today. You know, one of the events that we go to, you know, for example, there's a staff, there's a girl that works for one of the places that we go to. We see her every couple of months. And a couple of months ago, she was talking about her dad's birthday, and she's a really nice girl. She's only like 25, 26. Her dad's about our age. And she's talking about how she wanted to go buy him some concert tickets because he's into the classic rock era music, and she loves his style of music, okay? Because my husband, he's like Mr. Social. He talks to everybody, and so she's all telling him about that, and my husband, you know, of course, oh yeah, you know. So anyway, she's telling us that. So anyway, we see her this week, you know, really nice girl, and you know, she goes, oh, by the way, I got some Pink Floyd tickets. That's what I got for my dad for his birthday. Oh, it was such a cool show. So, of course, my husband, he's standing there, oh, yeah, I seen Pink Floyd back in 1977, or, you know, and then, so, you know, he's comparing notes. I just happen to be, you know, standing right there. And she says, yeah, but you want to know the best part? And we're like, well, what? She goes, the Trump bashing. And we're like, what? And she goes, oh, you could just see her face light up. oh, they cursed him so bad. And we're just like stunned because it's almost like I'm watching her go from this sweet girl that we always see, every couple of months into mesmerized by all the all the whatever it is in the air, it's a spirit. I get that. Oh, they cursed him. Oh, yeah. Oh, that was so cool. And then my husband's like, "Oh, your dad don't like Trump?" And she's like, "Oh, no, he hates him." And then she's like, "Oh, that was so cool. Oh, you should have seen. Oh, it was, and she's lit up about this. I'm like, I look at my husband, I'm like, oh, they sold out too. Oh, Roger Waters, he's like the only one left. The rest of them are dead. And she's just like, oh, yeah, you should have heard what he said. Oh, blah, 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 And I'm like, I look at my husband, I'm like, oh, they sold out. And she looks at me and she goes, oh, yeah, they sold. She thought I was talking about tickets. Oh, yeah, they sold out. And I said, but that's Illuminati. That's what I said to her, because I'm realizing now that the young crowd that I come in contact with now are starting to understand that these little signs and figures that are being thrown out there are Illuminati. And then when I said, so then they're Illuminati, and she turns to me and she goes, oh, yeah. Oh, like it was this wonderful thing. And I didn't even know what to say, because I'm not one of them people that can think on my feet. My husband is, but I'm not. I'm like, okay, I go back to work, what I'm doing, but I'm just kind of stunned. This sweet girl is like all caught up in the spirit of just Trump bashing and it was like, okay, unbelievable. But this is a spirit, okay? And the reason why I bring this up, before we get into this, is in Lot's day, there was a spirit in Sodom, okay? I mean, it was a spirit. As we're about to see, as we go into Genesis 19, there is a spirit that have taken over the minds of people, even here, okay, in chapter 19 of Genesis. And not only that, but just like the days of Noah when the floods came and it wiped out that particular section or race of giants, those spirits became disembodied spirits that went looking for another home. Remember, I talked about that when we talk about addiction. But wait a minute. Now we have the Sodomites. And we're about to get into why God wiped out Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding cities around them. Okay? But it was a spirit again that took over the minds of those people. And when those people were wiped out, where did those spirits go then? I'm here to tell you, those spirits move on from generation to generation to generation. Those spirits didn't die. What took over the minds of those people to make them so zombie-like, okay, so out there, okay, are the same spirits that are operating today with those protesters against Trump. Now, I'm not saying that I'm political. I do not believe there is a difference in either side. Okay, I would never identify, I would identify more with being a conservative, but I realize that politics is an illusion of choice. Okay, I realize that, and I realized that a long time ago. Okay, so I'm not getting into politics here, but what I am telling you is that there is a spirit in the air that hates Christianity, hates conservatism. Okay? It isn't even about Donald Trump himself that these people are protesting. It's because they don't have somebody in office that is handing over to them more keys to the city. Seriously. They look at him as stopping progression, and they are all about the progressive actions. homosexual marriage, abortion, a woman's right to choose, you know, where does it end? Now you got some weird transgender stuff going on. Heck, I just read in the paper this week online. I mean, I read in online where there's this. Okay, I have a hard time getting this straight. The headlines read transgender male has a baby. Okay, no man never had a baby. Okay, this is a confused individual that had a baby. What it was a woman who took the male hormones, wanting to become a man. She didn't go all the way, obviously, but taking all these male hormones to become a man, and she's gay. Okay, now follow me here. Her partner or husband or wife or whatever they call each other. Okay, so now she's a man who is really a woman. Okay? And she's with a woman. She is a woman that's wanting to be a man with a man that's wanting to be a woman. Get it? So they're a heterosexual couple that are both pretending to be gay. Okay? Okay, so now I don't, it's such a mind twist. I mean, seriously, you'd have been taken away in a paddy wagon 30 years ago for this nonsense. But anyway, so she gets knocked up and has a baby. Why? Because they're a heterosexual couple pretending to be homosexual, both of them, transgendered. So they both became the opposite of what they are, and they had a baby. I don't know, weird, but the headline's misleading because no man had a child. It's a woman that had a child, okay? Because she's still a woman. I don't care what she calls herself. So you have this kind of craziness going on today. And you gotta wonder, what is causing this? This is a spirit. Likewise, if you're homosexual out there, or you are wondering if you are, or whatever, it's a spirit. You can get this spirit broken off of you. Now, I'm not saying you get it broken off of you at your local church. I'm sad to say that there is a famine in the land today, and finding a real church, that's going to be next to impossible. But if you can find one where they do I wouldn't even say deliverance ministry. You need to go somewhere where somebody can pray over you, or you can bind that up. Go to my addiction, go look at my addiction video, and it'll explain how to get rid of that. But it is a spirit that is on people that is causing this lust. It's no different than any other kind of lust. Okay? So, but the point that I'm making is what was going on in Genesis 19 is going on today. It's in our world. It's in our faces. Every time I turn on MSN, I find at least 3 articles every day online, right in your face, because I got to have pictures of everything too, At least 3 every day right there in my face of either a transgender or a homosexual or somebody coming out of the closet or whatever. They always have 3. Okay, any given time of the day that you turn on MSN or as your search engine, that front page always there. Know why? Because this is glorified in today's time. Today's time is where we call right wrong and wrong right. Okay? We are gearing up right exactly the way it was back in Noah's time. Back in the time that we're about to read about. I am not kidding you. Okay? And today that behavior is glorified. I don't know which more they could do, because what I just told you was in that article. There was another one even more bizarre behind it. And I'm not going to get into it, but what I'm saying is people are it ain't even good enough that they have homosexual marriage. Now they're doing all kinds of weird, crazy stuff that, honestly, I don't know. I'm not an advocate for Prozac, but I don't know. Maybe these people should be on lithium. There's some crazy stuff going on. People are, and it's a spirit that drives them. Okay, lastly, what I want to say is that when you start making yourself, because I'm hearing Christians talk about homosexuality is, well, I don't judge. I don't judge. Oh, you better stand up for something. Seriously. Is that what your watered down church is telling you? I have heard it. Trust me, I have heard it. And anyway, what happens is once you start intermingling in worlds that you do not belong in, then the lines of righteousness begin to get blurred. You start becoming that. Seriously, you start becoming that. And Lot started becoming that. I'm telling you, he was not the righteous man here. The Lord was not delivering a righteous man. He was delivering a man that he had mercy on, and probably a lot more to do with the righteousness of Abraham, that the Lord had mercy on Lot. Okay? Lot was not righteous. There was so much dysfunction going on within his own household. If you remember, when Abraham asked Lot, which side do you want? He chose Sodom. But he didn't even move inside of Sodom at that point. It says he pitched a tent outside the city. When we get into Genesis 19, he's not dwelling in a tent anymore outside the city. He now has a house inside the city. Moved closer to it, okay? And when you start moving closer to the things of this world, they start becoming you. They really do. That's why they're there, okay? In today's time, that's why the things of the world are there. They're to pull us back, pull us away from the Lord. And how many people that call themselves Christians love the things of this world? I mean, they love it. They don't want to leave this world because of what this world has to offer. They're not looking forward to seeing Jesus Christ and going to heaven. They love the things of this world. Okay? Seriously. They love their money. Money is a big one. Okay, well, with Lot, not only that, there was dysfunction in his household. As you're going to see, there were several dysfunctions going on in that household. Okay? Because his household was becoming a part of it. You let your guard down when you sink yourself right in the middle of something. He could have moved out of there at any time. He chose to stay. He and his family chose to stay. Okay? He never packed it up and tried to leave. Anyway, I want to bring you to a verse before we get into this. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 15:33. It's a real simple verse. A good one to memorize, okay? Be not deceived. Evil communications corrupt good manners. Okay? A lot of fact in that. A whole lot. Now, before we get into this, let's go one more place. Let's go into Luke, and we'll go to chapter 17 in our Bibles. That's in the New Testament. Luke 17. And we're going to go from verse 26 to verse 29. And as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. Who's the Son of Man? Jesus Christ. Okay? Christ returning. They did eat, they drank, they married wives. They were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark. And the flood came and destroyed them all. They hadn't a clue. Verse 28. Likewise, also, as it was in the days of Lot, they did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they builded. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. This is as in the days of Lot. Well, guess what? We're going to see what it was like in the days of Lot. And with that, let's go to Genesis chapter 19. One thing I'm going to mention here, real quick, is when we talk about angels in this first sentence, you know how every time we look up in the Old Testament angels, it's Elohim? Elohim. Okay, these angels are not Elohim. Okay, if you look at your Strong's Concordance, it's number H4397. They're called Malak. Okay, not Elohim. So this is a whole nother type of being called angels here in your Old Testament. They're not even Elohim. Whole different kind of angel. And this type of angel can come down in the form of a man. Obviously, they look like men. And this verse or this chapter will continue after the first verse to refer to them as men. So they didn't come down with wings and white robes. These angels look like you and I. Okay, except that these were men. I just wanted to mention that. They're called Malak. Okay, that is the Hebrew word for angels of this type. Okay, and let's start. Chapter 19. And there stood two angels to Sodom at even. Even means evening. And Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. What's he doing sitting in the gate? He didn't even live within the gates before that. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. Where it says face toward the ground, that's actually an idiom. And that idiom means in the place where something is happening and among people who are in that situation. Isn't that appropriate? Now, I don't know if this is the Hebrew idiom for that, but that is an idiom. And I know that the Bible is loaded in idioms. Okay? I'm not saying that it is in this particular case, but it sure fits, doesn't it? So this is maybe where we get that idiom from, is from this verse. Verse 2, and he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early, and go your ways. Okay? And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. So here we have Lot. He's inviting them to his home to spend the night. He doesn't know who they are. He has no idea why they are. You know, he just thinks there are two men that came to sojourn there at Sodom. And he's telling them, you know, come to my house. Perhaps understanding how wicked the city is that he lives in, he's doing them a good deed by letting them stay with him, because the whole rest of the city is corrupt. So he's telling them, hey, you can stay at my house, and then in the morning you can leave. Go where you're going. And then they tell him, no, we're going to stay here in the city all night. We're going to abide in the street all night. Okay? Verse 3. Now this is Lot. And he pressed upon them greatly. And they turned in unto him, and entered into his house. And he made them a feast. He did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. So they did. He persuaded them to come to his house, and he spread out some food, gave them the utmost hospitality. Verse 4. But, there's always a but before they laid down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. You see what I just read? They came from the four corners of Sodom and circled Lot's house like night of the living dead. Trust me, this is perfectly like Night of the Living Dead. These are zombies. These are people that have been taken over by a spirit so badly, they have no, they can't see beyond what it is that they want at that moment. They're taken over. They're taken over by a spirit that resides in our world of today. And they came from all four quarters of the city. Can you imagine surrounding your house? I could just picture them banging on the windows and trying to push in the doors. Okay, this is crazy. Verse 5, and they called unto Lot and said unto him, where are the men which came into thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. And the word know there means to have sex with them. Verse 6, and Lot went out at the door unto them, and shut the door after him. So he squeezed himself out, shut the door behind him. He's up against the door, trying to persuade these people to go. And said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold, now I have 2 daughters. Dysfunction. I have 2 daughters which have not known man, virgins. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as it is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing, for therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. He's going to throw his own daughters out there to keep the sodomites away from the men that he invited into his home. He doesn't even know why. He's just doing a good deed for these guys because he knows that no good can come of traveling through Sodom. And so he's invited them in, but now he's saying, hey, my daughters are virgins. You could do what you want with them, okay? First of all, these sodomites don't even want the daughters, okay? They want dudes. Second of all, his daughters aren't virgins because they got husbands. Unless their husbands are sodomites, but I don't know why they would be husbands. Okay. Verse 9. And they said, stand back. And they said again, this one fellow came in to sojourn, and he will needs be a judge. Let him come out here and tell us that. That's what they're saying. Now will we deal with thee. Now will we deal worse with thee than with them. And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door. They were going to sodomize Lot right there. They just told him, we're going to do worse to you than we're going to do to those guys. Okay? That's how in their faces this whole thing was. This is how under the control of demonic forces these people were. This is how a spirit can take over the minds of people that they do and say things they don't even know what they're doing. See the comparison to today, what's going on with these Trump rallies and these people saying the most heinous things? It's the same spirits. They didn't die just because these people died. Oh no, those spirits went from generation to generation to generation. Okay? But the men, talking about the angels, put forth their hand and pulled Lot into the house to them and shut the door. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, all of them, no matter what the age was, smote them with blindness. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was up to something and all of a sudden I went blind, I think my whole mindset would switch, right? I'd be thinking about being blind now all of a sudden, right? That's what's supposed to happen here. But it says, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. They were blind. They're still trying to get at them. Do you believe that? That is a spirit. That is not normal. That is a spirit. It is that same spirit today. Verse 12. Now we're talking about the angels. And the men said unto Lot, hast thou here any besides a son-in-law, and thy sons, and thy daughters? And whatsoever thou hast in the city, bring them out of this place. So they're telling Lot, if you got any more family members, you better go get them now. Okay, because Lot still doesn't even know why they're there. He doesn't even know that they came for him. Verse 13, for we will destroy this place. We're on a mission from God. And that mission is to destroy this place. because the cry of them is waxing great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord hath sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spake unto his son-in-laws, which married his daughters. His virgin daughters? Son-in-laws? Makes you wonder why he lied, why he said his daughters were virgins. I don't know. And said, Up, get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. So either the spirit that was over the son-in-laws gave them a whole different perception of what he said, okay, as though he were mocking his own words of what he was saying. Their perception was so out there that they didn't take him seriously. Or is it possible that the way Lot presented this to them was in a mocking manner? Maybe he didn't want them going with him. They were his son-in-laws. Maybe they were part of the whole sodomite thing. I don't know. It doesn't say. But it is kind of odd that they say that, but he seemed, talking about Lot, as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. Like almost like Lot didn't believe it, the way he was telling him. You know, if you want to leave, you can leave, you know. I don't know. That's just sort of a very odd verse. Verse 15, and when the morning arose and the angels hastened, Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered, the men laid hold. He lingered. You see what I'm saying? Lot, his wife, the daughters. They didn't want to leave Sodom. They loved it. Sin City. They loved it. They loved the things of it. They were in no hurry to go. Isn't that insane? And while he lingered, talking about Lot, the men laid hold upon his hand. They actually had to grab their hands to go. And laid upon the hand of his wife and upon the hand of his 2 daughters. They were taking their time. Oh no, you're going now. Now. The Lord being merciful unto him. And yes, the Lord was merciful. Because Lot was not a righteous man. You can't, there's nothing here that indicates whatsoever that Lot was ever a righteous man. Abraham was righteous. The Lord honored Abraham's righteousness. And I have no doubt that the whole reason for this is the Lord had mercy on Lot on Abraham's behalf. Because there's no righteousness here. This is dysfunction. This is just like 1 Corinthians 15:33. Be not deceived. Evil communications corrupt good manners. Oh, he had good manners when he invited these men in. But man, his heart was, their hearts were all in that city. The Lord being merciful unto him, and they brought him forth and set him without the city. Yanked them out of the city. They just grabbed him by the hand. You're coming with us. Verse 17, and it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, Escape for thy life. This is the angel telling them, escape for thy life. Look not behind thee. They were told, neither stay thou in all the plain. Escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. So they're telling him, go all the way to the mountains. Don't you stop anywhere in the plains. Do not look behind you. This is going to be consumed. Okay, verse 18, here we go, Lot. Okay, and Lot said unto them, Oh, not so, my Lord. Behold, now thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast showed unto me in saving my life. And I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me and I die. Behold, now this city is near to flee unto, and it is a little one. Oh, let me escape there. Is it not a little one? And my soul shall live. So he's asking, hey, I don't want to go all the way to the mountains. I'll never make it. Can I just stay in this little city here? Please grant me that in your mercy. And he said unto him, See, I have accepted thee concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow this city, this one little city he's talking about, for the which thou hast spoken. He's granted him this favor. Verse 22, Haste thee, escape thither, for I cannot do anything till thou become thither. Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. Z-O-A-R. Verse 23, the sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. So it was morning already by the time Lot got to Zoar. Verse 24, then the Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. This was total destruction of these cities. There wasn't even plant life left. It was done. Verse 26, but his wife, Lot's wife, looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. Interestingly enough, because the name Sodom means burning, and Lot's name means covering. And Sodom is over by the Salt Sea. Okay? So, while you've got these pillars of brimstone and fire coming down, something happens to her to turn her into a pillar of salt. Of course, her heart was in the city. That's why she looked back. She didn't look back because she was just curious what's going on, you know, the fireworks. No, she looked back. That's where her heart was. And then she was turned to a pillar of salt. Verse 27, and Abram got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before the Lord. He had a special place, just like all of us. You should have a prayer closet, a special place where you go away to be with just the Lord. Verse 28, and he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. It was crisp. Verse 29, and it came to pass, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham, and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in the which Lot dwelt. That little city that Lot said, can I stay there? It was only temporary. The Lord wanted him to move his butt over to the mountains. He'd already had a reason. I don't know what the reason was. Could have been his age. I don't know. But now the Lord was going to destroy that little city, because that little city was part of that whole group of cities that went. It wasn't just Sodom and Gomorrah. It was a bunch of little tiny cities surrounding them. It all went. It was all corrupt. Okay? Even that little land, that little city of Zoar where he was staying. It was only on God's mercy that he could stay a night or whatever there. But he was to move on to the mountains just like the Lord told him. Okay? Verse 30, and Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain, and his 2 daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar. And he dwelt in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. Verse 31, and the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed to our father. So what they did is they both got him drunk. And what they would do, okay, more dysfunction. See what I'm saying? Here we go. Here's the dysfunction. First of all, Lot is now living inside the city limits, whereas in the beginning he dwelt in a tent outside the city. Second of all, he's willing to feed his daughters to the dogs in order to save his house guests. Okay, who throws their daughters to them and says, oh, they're virgins, take them, do what you want with them? Third of all, his wife loved it so much, she turned to look back even after she was told not to. And now, fourth of all, they're getting him drunk. Well, he wouldn't be getting drunk, but he's got dysfunction. And now they're going to sleep with him. He's going to be so drunk he ain't even going to remember, and they're both going to have sons. Okay? And so one has a son, and he is a Moabite. Okay? It says right here in verse 37, and the firstborn bare a son, and called his name Moab. Think of the lion men of Moab. The same is the father of the Moabites unto this day. That's what the Bible says. Verse 38, and the younger, she also bare a son, and called his name Ben-Ami. The same is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day. So these two tribes came from these two daughters of Lot, who had incest with their father and produced offspring. Okay? And that's what happened. And this is where we end Genesis 19. This is how bad the city was. I mean, even struck blind, the spirit that was leading these sodomites, they were still under its control. You know, still wanting to get in, trying to get in through the windows. I'm telling you, Night of the Living Dead. This is your first zombie apocalypse in the Bible right here. Is it any different from today? Is it? I can't see too many differences. I mean, I don't have them creeping in on my windows right now. But could you imagine if the grid went down in this country? Can you imagine with all the craziness that's going on out there, what spirit would take over the minds of people? What you would be dealing with? That would be a fearful sight. So with that, I'm going to end this session. We've done Genesis 19. We are going to skip on over to the day of the Lord. Be blessed.